playing across the halfback flank to start this game.
Yeah, vice-captain of the side. So if you look into Port Melbourne's forward 50, Elle Chasten's there and so is Sophie Molan. So plenty of leadership coming out of the back half.
Ball thrown in the air to get us underway, and it's the Bombers with the ruck Crystal winning the hit-out. Crystal Russell, that is. But we'll have a secondary stoppage. Coming up against Molly Dennehy-Maloney, who I'm told, Jem, goes by the nickname Barry. So we might just run with Big Baz all morning long for the Borough, but it's moved its way to centre-half forward. Jem, we're watching Collingwood in the AFL at the moment, last year's premiers, and it seems like the rest of the competition has caught up to them. From the VFLW point of view, obviously the Borough, and now the Standpoint, the Blueprint. Do you reckon a lot of teams would have gone to work on what they did over the off-season?
Yeah, I think absolutely, and I think when it comes to a level like this second-tier competition, a lot comes with having depth in your list, because obviously you don't have as much control over which AFLW players are in or out each week. We see the back half of seasons where some clubs start really strong and then fall away because they don't have access to those AFLW players anymore. So finding depth in the list of players that can do it, whether you have those AFLW listed players or not, is really important. And I think both of these sides have done a really good job of adding that depth. But we do have a few AFLW listed players out there today, which is a bit of fun too.
We'll keep an eye on those as the morning unfolds. Terrific tackle from Federica Frew right at the interchange gates on the Hangar side wing here in Essendon.
Obviously, Fetty Frew has won each of the last two flags, one with each of these sides, so has a bit of history with both, and is being matched up with Ash Van Loon from Essendon, obviously an AFLW listed player. Ash getting up to scratch to really attack this AFLW season and trying to find consistency in games. So good to see the VFLW being used in that way.
Ball is locked up again from Crystal Russell, the ruck of the Bombers. So who are a couple of these AFLW players that are out there today for both of these teams, Jen?
The one that I'm really excited about today is Chloe Adams. So she wears the helmet. She's playing for Essendon. She's from the Geelong Falcons and Geelong system. And Vic Country. She started as a midfielder and then kind of started getting used in that nuggety small defence lockdown sort of role. She's a really smart footballer and a good leader. So she's one that I think can really add a bit to Essendon, and this is her with the ball now, at both levels. So I'm excited to see her football develop. And the one for Port Melbourne, which is Richmond in the AFLW, is Isabel Bacon, who's also playing off that half-back line. She could be anything, super athletic, has a really strong, sporting history. And I think Richmond fans are really excited to see what she can offer.
So that was Chloe Adams sending it down the line, and it was Madison Ford wrapped up at centre-half forward. The first real foray forward for the Dons. This will go inside 50. It's off the boot of Lily Rose Williamson to the top of the goal square. All just bobbing around, and the Borough defence through Lisa Davey can give it to Maggie McCullough, and they can clear to the outer side of the ground. A little bit slippery underfoot. Here's Sophie Molan, although she was run down in the tackle. It was good, fierce stuff early on. The Bombers had a few games over the pre-season to sort of work their way into this game, but Borough faring well so far. Away from home, they'll unfurl the flag next week when they head back to ETU Stadium.
The Bombers obviously went to the NT to play some practice matches as well in the off-season, playing in, what was it Al said, 110% humidity?
Yeah, disgusting.
Disgusting.
Absolutely.
So the Bombers will be more than ready for any conditions that get thrown their way this year.
Drew Ryan sending it inside 50. Crystal Russell shoveled the handball out towards Ava Jordan, who snaps it to goal and just misses to the near side. But the first score of the season goes the way of Essendon, a minor one.
Ava Jordan is one that has just gotten a bit unlucky. She's 145 centimetres tall, so no matter how good a footballer she is, that will always hang over her head. So got overlooked for the draft last year in December, but she's so smart and she's really skillful, so she could do some real damage at this level for Essendon.
Terrific tackle from Stella Reid, wraps up Sophie Molan. You can see even just those little glimpses, dangerous around goal and just missing to the wrong side of the stick, but an early goal in her season will give her a stack of confidence at this level particularly.
Absolutely it will, and I think remind everyone that doesn't matter how tall you are, you can still be a really good footballer. This is her again competing against someone much taller than her and giving away a free kick, but she's not scared of attacking the contest, which is a really exciting part of her game.
Well, as someone who only stands at 159 centimetres, Jem, I'm singing from the same hymn book as Izzy Bacon. That's a wonderful, well-weighted kick, and Caitlin O'Keefe sits underneath the high ball with Alchaston closing. Takes a great mark.
You did have to stand on a box for our recording the other day, Joey.
I'll have to do that every Tuesday morning on the State of Play podcast. Inside 50, though, that kick has been intercepted, and the mark's been taken by Ashley Van Loon, a player you mentioned earlier on in this opening term. She went across the face of goal. It was Marnie Robinson who found herself wrapped up and in trouble. The ball's going to be locked up in the Borough's forward 50.
Marnie Robinson is another who got overlooked in the draft last year, but is a pretty smart player. She was captain of the Allies in the under-18 champs last year. She also was part of the Swans Academy, so she's a pretty smart footballer.
She's just had the pocket pick there as the Borough go to work at the top of the goal square. It's Frew, met by Molan. Adams threw her body in. Frew goes again, managed to get a boot to it. But right on the last line of defence, it's the Dons with Ashley Van Loon. Shake and bake too. And here's our girl, Ava Jordan, taking a terrific mark. Chaston runs past, gets the handball receive, and the Bombers can cut through the centre of the hangar. A well-weighted ball. This one's in the hands of Madison Ford, inside 50. It's a one-on-one. How will it sit here for Richardson? She picks it up, swings on the left foot, open goal square. Will it run on? Saving the day on the last line of defence is Caruso. She'll bring it to the broadcast side. Can I ask you, Jem, about Lauren Caruso, who had one of her career best seasons in 2023 for the Borough?
Yeah, was part of the team of the year. She won the Borough's best and fairest and also won the grand final best on ground very deservingly. She was fantastic last year, and I'm glad to see some of these other names getting mentioned and recognised because, yeah, she was fantastic. She was a big part of the reason they were able to win the flag as well. So I'm expecting her to go up another level this year too, which is a little bit ominous. But part of a champion side, you need those players that just get down and do the hard work, and she's one of those.
The ball from O'Keefe was intercepted by Crabtree, and that is a terrific pass, chiselled it in to about 30 out from goal, and the Bombers will get their second look at goal from Olivia Manfred.
The Bombers look so dangerous when they're able to get out into that little bit of space and get on the run. We saw it before where they went end-to-end really neatly, weren't able to convert. But again, that one cut back into the corridor and a beautiful kick inside 50 to a leading target.
So Olivia Manfred having her first look at goal for the season. From about 40 metres out. Starts it right, it stays out there, falls to the front of the contest. Going one way, then the other there with the Bombers. It's on the deck, it's wrapped up. Lisa Davey thrown into the turf, and the umpire will ask for the ball. So there was a late change, Jem, to the team that was put out yesterday on afl.com.au, and it comes the way of the Bombers. I think it was Danny Marshall's been taken out of this side.
Yeah, Danielle Marshall not playing today. Kyla Tracy has come in. She's wearing the number 46. So if you're looking for Danny Marshall and you can't find her, that's why. Number 46 is Kyla Tracy into the side.
So she might be part of this contest too. She had the last shot at goal there as it fell short from Manfred. And she'll be in amongst this pack as it's fisted towards the boundary line. It stays in. Ford shovels the handball. But there's only Borough's players home, although they left the footy behind. So they'll get another look at it, the Dons, and this one again is going to the right of the stick off the boot of Lily Rose Williamson.
Another AFLW listed Don out there is Lily Rose Williamson. Had some injury issues and couldn't crack the AFLW side for any games last year. But she's a tough player from the country, so she suits this level beautifully.
Here's Woolcock getting it from Harley. There was a bit of pressure on that kick. Just pitched inside the field of play, but of course in the VFLW, last touch out of bounds.
Last disposal out, we should say.
Oh, so we're not doing touch.
No, so it's last disposal. So if you touch it, as what just happened there, before it completely crosses the line, it will be a throw-in, right, 10 metres out from the boundary, which we're seeing here. If you kick it and no one touches it before it goes out, or handball it, no one touches it before it goes out, even if it's bounced and it's not on the full, it's automatically a lasso free kick, which is a free kick to the opposition.
So Karis Brett shoveled it out towards Ashmel Nikas. She went back inboard. This was Mackenzie Ford just paddling it only as far as Molan. It's a really strong tackle here from Stella Reid, who's going to be rewarded, Jem.
I love Stella Reid.
Tell us a bit about her.
She's a gun player who is trying to find her feet at senior level. I know I keep mentioning the AFLW, but we do look at the VFLW at times as a pathway or a development competition as well as a competition on its own. But Stella had a fantastic VFLW season last year, playing more through the midfield than we're used to at AFLW level. And it allowed her to then have a really fantastic AFLW season, playing more as a half forward, because she learned how to impact the contest and then get back and hit the scoreboard. So that ability to run up and down was born from her time spent in the VFLW. She's wearing the number 48 out there today, and she'll really be dangerous around the contest, but as I said, can also push forward and hit the scoreboard and be really dangerous there too.
The umpire having a real good think about this on the paint of 50 for Port Melbourne. It does end up falling out the way of the Bombers. Right on the boundary line, Karis Brett shoveled the handball back towards her teammate in Chloe Perpich. The mark's been intercepted by Izzy Bacon, who I know was, Jem, one of yours to watch in this contest, Izzy Bacon.
Pick 13 in the AFLW draft last year by Richmond.
Yep.
Yeah, super athletic and can do some damage in that running position off half back. I know that that Richmond kind of want to make some changes there or add a little bit of run. They do have quite a solid back line, but not as much run out, which I think Bacon can really provide at that level. So
Olivia Manfrey just sends it inside 50. It is a foot race again. The Bombers are leaving their forward 50 arc open like a paddock. Great tackle from Maggie McCullough to lock it up, but that's the second or third time now, Jem, that you can see they're pushing all their forwards up, and then it's just basically a sprint back towards goal.
Yeah, so that's why they're so dangerous as soon as they find any space coming out of the back half, because then they know to just pull that trigger and get forward.
David Jordan is lurking around this contest, as is Tracy, the late inclusion. Locked up again by Caruso, so we'll have a secondary stoppage about 25-30 out from goal. The Bombers are 2 behinds. Port Melbourne yet to trouble the scorers. Opening game of the season for these two clubs. Of course, the Rebel VFLW kicked off last night, Jem, with the Southern Saints and the Magpies. Anything in that game of note for yourself?
Just that it was a brand new Collingwood side. Did go down, so Southern Saints did get the win, which we probably anticipated. Maybe we didn't anticipate it to be as close as it was. But, yeah, it was interesting to see what that new look Collingwood side looks like.
So Woolcock shoveling the handball towards Borg in the direction of Frew, who just paddled it beautifully down to herself, but she's been met by Adams. She managed to get a handball away. Molan's lurking around this contest. It's locked up with the ruck. Crystal Russell, Chloe Perpich is there, and the umpire will ask for it again.
That Bombers' pressure has been fantastic, hasn't it, Joey?
It certainly has. Early going of this contest, that forward 50 arc is open again. It though goes the way of the Borough to half forward. Molan comes out without an opponent either, so maybe a bit of a loose in defence as Chaston sends it forward. Jordan's got 2 to beat. She's up against Lisa Davey, who's the captain today. McCullough bounced past her. Jordan keeps going. Lisa Davey had the support of McCullough. Just fumbled it at the crucial moment, though. It's left the door open for the Dons inside 50. Up and down the chimney goes that kick. Good luck marking that. They have a crack at it, though. Backward steps as Karis Brett sends it to centre half forward. And everything is coming up red and black, Jem. They're inside 50 again here, the Bombers. A well-weighted kick. Didn't quite pick out the target. Caruso. She's got the support of McCullough. Here's Izzy Hartog, met by Chaston. It came the way of the Essendon captain. Her handball maybe put her teammate into a bit of trouble. Spilt out, though, towards Tia Davidge. Open goal square. How will this one roll on? Another behind.
So as much as the Port Melbourne defence has been under a lot of pressure, what they've done very, very well is not allow those deep entries. They've allowed those entries, 35 to 50 metres, but it's not in the zone where Essendon can be really damaging when going for goal. So that's why they haven't been able to break through for a goal yet, and those shots have been offline or have just rolled through. So as much as Port Melbourne's backline looks like they're floundering a little bit, they're actually doing a very good job of limiting those really dangerous shots on goal.
And another behind from Scarlett Orrit. I guess the other thing, Jem, we're seeing is from those 4 behinds, 3 of them have been from not right on the boundary, but outside sort of
Yes.
the 30-metre arc directly in front of goal. Like, they're not the easiest of shots.
No, not at all. And a lot of shots that are under a lot of pressure as well. So it will be interesting to see, obviously this being round one, how that continues as the game goes on. Do they tire a little bit and allow some of those easier shots, and does that break the game open, or can they hold that up for the rest of the game?
I like this movement from Port Melbourne. They went inside, now they're back outside. It was with Madeline Patterson, who managed to get boot to ball as she was run down by Adams. Chaston first to pick it up, although she was met head on. And inside 50 though are Port Melbourne. It falls away of Federica Frew. Karis Brett spinning around 360 looking for the Sharon. It works out for Essendon, although again Mackenzie followed up her work on half back. Lost the footy. And the Bombers on the slingshot.
Oh,
Beautiful pirouette. It works out for the Dons. That was from Jada Richardson, who gets the footy back. She'll send it inside 50. It'll be Ford and Jordan for Essendon. And Ford takes the mark.
but this is where the Bombers, here we go, need to find that hit-up target to get that little bit closer into goal. They can't be trying to take those pot shots from 40 out because realistically they just don't have the leg in them, really. Other than maybe Fetty Frew, Emily Harley, both for Port Melbourne, I don't know that anyone out there has the leg to consistently kick a 40-metre set shot.
Well, she nearly found over Jordan, but it just skidded on and went just to the right of the behind post. So we've got a throw in. Forward pocket for Essendon. Jordan is lurking around this contest. Maybe there might have been an argument for a push in the back on Tia Davidge then, but the umpire having none of that. So another stoppage. Inside 50 for Essendon. 4 behinds. Port Melbourne yet to score. Whistle on play is going the way of our girl Barry. Molly Dennehy-Maloney goes by the nickname of Baz. And been asked by Port Melbourne just incorporate that into the call throughout the morning. So Big Baz is on notice early. She can impact this contest. She's up against Crystal Russell in the ruck for today. Slow, methodical build-up this from Port Melbourne. It's in the waiting arms of Bella Stutt at the moment, who Gemma, I believe, may have almost been on the outer at the start of the 2023 season, and then she managed to impress in a new role on the wing, and she hasn't really looked back since then.
Yeah, you're a fan of Bella Stutt, aren't you, Joey?
I am, yes.
She was fantastic last year, but it felt like a really obvious improvement on seasons past. And as you said, she probably didn't look like she was actually going to play last year for Port Melbourne. She was going to play some practices and move on. But they moved her onto the wing, and her ability to run and carry and take the game on added a new dimension to what Port Melbourne was able to offer. And now she's a premiership player. So it can be as simple as trying something new in your game, trying a different position to get a bit of a refresh, and then you become a really dangerous footballer.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Port Melbourne trialled something different, because you can always put these players out in the scrap heap if it's not working in one spot, but put them in a different one and watch them excel. So here go Port Melbourne again. Terrific attempt to make a smother. There was Big Baz sending it to the wing. But it's Essendon with all the numbers. They are swarming this Sharon early on, Gem, and stringing some handballs together. They're inside 50 again. Lurking out the back. It bounced up beautifully here for Manfrey.
The pickup was fantastic.
She went towards goal. It's still just bobbing around the place. Manfrey keeps going for a second and third attempt. But it's been won here by Bianca Lynn of Port Melbourne. Only as far as Chaston, so another inside 50 coming up, although a terrific smother. Fell the way of Adams. She gives it off to Davidge, who goes to the top of the goal square. And an intercept mark has been taken by McCullough.
Can I just say, Joey, my call for Chaston for Lambert Pearce medalist this year is off to a flying start.
Oh, gee whiz.
Has had 6 touches already in this game, playing off half back and pushing up through the middle. That smother was also fantastic earlier, so I'm on board the Chaston train this year.
Okay, get on board. You can hear Jem talk about Al Chaston every week. State of play, 7:30 Tuesday mornings. I might set you a task then of giving a 3-2-1 today, Jem, and you don't have to do it now, but clearly Al Chaston has parked herself in the 3-vote category already, and we've gone, nearly quarter time. What's that, 19-odd minutes into this first quarter.
They're just a really smart footballer, and currently position themselves in that defensive sweeper sort of role to intercept those long kicks out of defence. So they've been key in terms of keeping the ball in Essendon's forward half for long periods of time. They haven't capitalised as a club on the scoreboard yet, but that ability to keep it forward has been really dangerous.
And that is the siren to end the opening term of the 2024 season, rather, between the 2023 Premiers.
Weeks, but she'll be a great addition back into the Port Melbourne side once she's ready and able. But for Essendon, they loaded up on some ex-AFLW players during the off-season, some star players including Bailey Hunt, Sarah Perkins, Christina Bernardi, but all three are out with injuries at the moment, so we saw them there at the huddle just listening in, but not able to be out there today, unfortunately.
Lily Rose Williamson has earned herself a free kick to start the second term. Stand by, Jem, to give me a rundown on Jordan Mifsud for those who are just tuning in and may know that, of course, she won the Lambert Pearce medal in 2023, a joint winner. Joined Port Melbourne and not here today. What's going on there?
She's got a hand fracture, I believe, so we'll miss at least a month of footy, unfortunately, for Port Melbourne. But if you're the reigning premiers and you've been able to add someone like Jordan Mifsud to your list, you're doing a lot of things right, Joey.
I reckon you are, yes. Yes, you are.
We asked Sean Bunkle in our first episode of State of Play for the year, which people can go back to and listen to.
Yeah, Tuesday morning, 7:30.
Joey's the one responsible for scheduling, if people can't tell. How you go about doing that, how you go about bringing star players into a side that's already stacked. And he said it's about culture and it's about selling that culture to people. And obviously they have a strong culture. Famously, they all slept at their stadium the night after the premiership. So it's those sorts of things that people want to come and be a part of. And obviously Jordan was one of those. So left Box Hill as a Lambert Pearce medalist, which is obviously the competition's best and fairest, which was a three-way tie last year, and has come across to Port Melbourne. So she's only going to add to what Port Melbourne can do this year.
Chloe Adams has it at the interchange gates. Chisels it up towards Crystal Russell, who couldn't take the mark. Now she's on hands and knees. This will be penalised. No attempt to get rid of the footy. She found herself in a bit of trouble on the deck. And Jessie Williams, who we haven't spoken about just yet, Jem, today, but she sort of had a good year last year and was able to keep her name in the team each and every week.
Yeah, she's been, or someone's down here, I think it's Fetty Frew, she's getting up now, but Jessie Williams has been a VFLW star for a long time now. This is her 47th VFLW game. If my mail is correct, Joey, which is...
You've got some mail for us.
Came from you, so that's why I'm checking with you. She was considering retirement, and then the flag kept her around a little bit longer. So she'll bring up her 50th VFLW game this year. This is her 47th, and it's her birthday on Tuesday. So everything's going right for Jessie Williams right now.
Happy birthday to Jessie, or an early birthday anyway, and a win today will be a great gift for her. Some clean movement there from Nayli Borg, who gets the 1-2 and sends it to half forward. Sophie Molan going back with the flight, where Angels fear to tread. Didn't take the mark though. And Port Melbourne can send it to centre half forward. Having a crack at that was Harley. Didn't take it all that cleanly. It's shoveled out. And the Bombers can go to work on the outside. Crabtree sends it down the line, and Nayli Borg is playing a defensive goalkeeper role, just standing here marshalling the troops around her.
I think it's indicative of how this game's being played. The Bombers do want to find attack and get on their bikes, but both sides have very strong defensive lines. So that's why it is kind of living between the arcs a little bit. As soon as some of that defensive structure starts to break down a little bit for one side, I think we'll see the game really open up. But at the moment, they're really staunch.
So Crabtree went back to go forward. The ball's been locked up at half forward in favour of Port Melbourne. Haven't scored as yet. The Bombers have 4 behinds, all from the opening term.
We should mention the ball seems to be living in that half of the ground. In the first quarter, I think it was purely the Bombers had control, and that's what it was about. But now we are starting to get a little bit of wind as well going to that side. So that will start to impact the play, I believe. And that's why the ball's living on this wing in particular too.
So Drew Ryan sends it down the line. Nayli Borg was wrapped up in a strong tackle by Chloe Perpich, who's going to be rewarded. In fact, Scarlett Orrit is going to be rewarded The tendency to play this side of the ground here at the Hangar is noticeable. We've done a lot of games here over the last 2 years, and I don't know, maybe they feel like the grandstand here blocks some of that breeze from the open side of the ground.
It does protect the ball in flight, and we know that the VFLW ball is lighter than the VFL men's ball as well, which then it gets impacted more by the wind. So that protection is really important, but also the wind does just bring the ball over this side, so they get stuck here a little bit, which if you're an interchange steward, it's better because you can still get your interchanges done. The ball's not living on the other side of the ground.
Good for us too, because I don't have the best of eyes, Jim. So
it's great for us. So we've got a fantastic view up here.
So about to be thrown up again. Broadcast wing here at the Hangar. Brilliant handball that works its way to Ashley Cooper. Kick to half forward. Mackenzie kept running. Now Port Melbourne can go inside 50. Here she goes again, Mackenzie. Oh, she was shoved aside by Molan. Just disposed of. Brilliant stuff from Sophie. And the ball's locked up in the Port Melbourne forward line. Al Chaston picks themselves up. And we'll have this one thrown up. Can Port Melbourne make something happen from this stoppage to get on the scoreboard? Smashed into was Robinson. Tried to break through the tackle.
Free kick.
And Caitlin O'Keefe, or is it going to be Harley?
Oh, this is a dangerous, dangerous free kick to give up by Essendon. Emily Harley is a belting kick.
Geez, he'll take a good one from here, Jem.
If anyone on this field can do it, it's Emily Harley.
Well, the Smithy Snags are back this year in 2024. I know it's the major partner of the VFL, but gee whiz, can we get a Smithy Snag early in the Rebel VFLW from Emily Harley, who's playing her 34th game, was part of the premiership last year, puts the ball on its way right to the goal line. In fact, it's gone all the way through. Beautifully called by Gemma Bastiani. Port Melbourne have the first goal of their season, the first goal of the game, and they take the lead early going of this second quarter off the boot of Emily Harley. 1 straight 6, and Essendon are 4 behind.
And that's what's so heartbreaking for the Bombers, is the Bombers lived in their forward half in that first quarter, couldn't make it count because they were, we say living in their forward half, but not deep. And Port Melbourne have these assets in their front half that can utilise, 40 metres out, those free kicks 40 metres out, and they can be really dangerous. And we mentioned Emily Harley, who obviously just kicked that goal, but Fetty Frew can also kick a long bomb. So those longer kicks in the VFLW can be so valuable, and that's something Port Melbourne have absolutely in their favour, and they're making the most of the forward half dominance they're able to create at the moment. But also that one coming off a free kick, that's even more painful for the Bombers, so they'll be out with a vengeance now.
So back into the centre square. Russell goes up against Big Baz in the middle. Fierce tackling. 2 overzealous. The advantage is going to be paid. And so Malnikas will send the Bombers to centre half forward. It's lurking around Ava Jordan. She managed to shovel the handball out perfectly to the top of the square. Can they get a quick reply, the Bombers? Lurking here is Jordan. She goes after it. And the umpire will ask for the ball.
Here's a chance for the Bombers. I want to see Ava Jordan get on the move through here.
So lurking around is Lily Rose Williamson. She ends up with the footy. Strong tackle from Maddie Patterson, who has a third attempt to log it up. The umpire's having a real good think about it. Crosses the arms and says, I'll have the ball back. Forward pocket. Nice little crowd building here at the Hangar. This opening game of the season. Port Melbourne have just kicked their first goal. Jordan lurking. Malnikas got boots of ball. Williamson went backwards. Hartog only as far as Ava Jordan. Thrown into the turf. Hartog goes again. And over the line it goes. Ruby Marnie was there for Essendon.
Hartog is someone we haven't called a lot of yet. They've changed numbers from last year. Used to wear the number 42, is now in the number 2. So don't be confused. That's still Izzy Hartog.
Upgraded. Gone 40 numbers forward. She wants a higher locker up to the change room's end. Port Melbourne get it out. This is Jessie Williams. She's got Harley. Or Patterson. They can raffle at the two of them. Patterson, not a great handball. It opened the door here for Robinson. And the Bombers can go, although just the slightest of fumbles from Ruby Murdoch let her teammate in.
That was very well thought through by the Borough there. Those quick little handballs to find the exit. Brilliant.
So Caitlin Cox sends it inside 50. Frew is lurking. Snap at goal is missing altogether from Stella Reid. And quick as a flash, Gem. It's at the other end of the ground. We'll have a stoppage.
Yeah, we've seen this transition from this end of the ground to where it is now a few times. And I think that's becoming more and more a result of the weather conditions. It's not very windy, but it's enough to impact. But I think Port Melbourne have finally settled into their season and are starting to put together some chains of possession now and becoming really dangerous.
Russell grabbed it out of the ruck, and then a handball towards Chaston. Not a great one. Reid picked up the footy, had a flying shot at goal, went across the face. They've got another opportunity here off the boot there of Caitlin Cox, if you don't mind. Well, it's the small forwards going to work at Port Melbourne in that little contest. They've got their second in a row. They extend their lead out to 8 points.
Cox can't believe that she kicked that one. First, she can't believe that it landed in her lap in that pocket. And second, she can't believe that she slotted it through. But Caitlin Cox is one, I think, to keep an eye on, not only in this VFLW season, but AFLW season coming. In finals in 2022, season 7 for AFLW, Caitlin Cox played forward for one game against North Melbourne and kicked a goal. And it was her first goal in AFLW, playing for Richmond, obviously, and has got a bit of a sniff and wants to play a bit more forward. Played half and half a little bit last year for Richmond and is now being trained a little bit more, developed a little bit more in that forward line through this VFLW season, which is incredibly exciting. She is whip smart. She's very quick. And she can do a bit of damage, as you've just seen, from not so nice angles.
Absolutely. Get that on the VFLW TikTok. That's one of the goals of the year early on. An early contender for the season from Caitlin Cox. Another clearance, though, goes the way of the Bombers from a stoppage towards the 50. Is Ava Jordan, wrapped up by Caruso. Didn't have the ball, so she'll be rewarded with a free kick right on the paint of 50.
But this is where the Bombers need to find that next possession in the chain. They can't be having a pot shot from here for it to roll through as a rush behind. They need to find that hit-up target inside 50. But Port Melbourne have set themselves up beautifully defensively as a structure. They've blocked all the holes. So there's not really anywhere that the Bombers can lead freely.
She's going to go to the top of the square with the kick. But exactly as Gemma Bastiani mentioned, McCullough was in the hole. It's fallen the way of the Bombers. Is there an opportunity here for them? If they can be clean with the footy, they might be in business. McCullough went back for a second attempt. Handball's partially smothered. Strong forward craft from Ashley Van Loon to lock the ball in. So another stoppage here for Essendon on basically the goal line.
But if you watch the play there, Nigeli Borg was sitting as a goalkeeper. So even if they got a shot around the body, it was going to be touched or impacted by Borg. So that structure of Port Melbourne's defence has been fantastic, and they're just very smart and organised.
So this is Crabtree and Jordan going to work on Bianca Line to get her over the line. So we'll have this one thrown in. So it was unintentional,
Joey's
Gem.
Pleased with himself.
That
with
was
one.
Unintentional, Gem. I'll work my lines throughout the morning into the afternoon. Again, that was an interesting type handball there from Jada Richardson. You'll try anything in the game of Australian rules football to get away with.
It's like a volleyball set, wasn't it?
Well, still got the closed fist, unfortunately, though, against the rules. Here's Chaston. Got support over her teammate, Maddie Ford. Just took a bit of grass in front of her. Jordan on the slide, didn't take the mark. Wearing her like a glove was Izzy Bacon. Now, Jem, Izzy Bacon, you talked about her in the opening quarter. Pick 13 in the 2023 AFLW draft. Are we at a point where first-round draft picks in the AFLW are held in the same esteem as the men's competition, given it's 7 years old, the AFLW? I mean, is pick 13 a significantly great player in the comp?
I think she will be.
Yep.
The drafts for AFLW still now. Oh,
that was.
If that had come off, it would have been magnificent.
It would have ended up on the Tic Tac. I guarantee you that.
The Tic Tac.
Tic Tac.
How old are you, Joey?
Old enough to not know what it is.
It's a difficult conversation because obviously there are still development to happen.
Yep.
And different drafts are going to have different levels of talent in them. I think Izzy Bacon is going to be a star of the competition. Probably needs a little bit more. I think the draft last year maybe wasn't as deep as we've seen in the past. This year coming, it's freakishly good.
Okay.
So I think this year is the first one, and we're getting the element of national draft in there as well, even though it's not a truly national draft yet. We're getting elements here. Oh, Fetty Frew just needed to jump at that. We're getting more and more of that national draft element into it, but this year I think is going to be the year where we see the draft is seriously good and going to have a really huge impact on the competition almost immediately.
Looking forward to when you term this year's draft the Super Draft. We'll see how long it takes you into the season before you're ready to go with that.
I think Sarah Black is the one that's going to have to do that.
Tune into credit to the girls for Sarah Black to call it a Super Draft as Adams sends the footy back out of her defence. Over the line it goes. Nice bit of movement as you were talking about the draft just then, Jem, from Port Melbourne. One of the few times we've seen it get to the outside of the Hangar here.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that Port Melbourne has, because they play at North Port Oval, ETU Stadium, quite often. That can be affected pretty significantly by the weather pretty regularly.
Yep.
So they have learned how to combat those conditions. I think the other team that are very good at it, because of where their home ground is Williamstown. So we do see those two clubs trying to use that open side a little bit more. They're willing to take the risk a little bit more because they back in their skills.
Ooh, a big flying attempt from Robinson off the boot of Baz. Chaston met by McKenzie. Adams sweeps the handball and will attempt to get it back, although Chaston is lurking. So the captain of Essendon, clearing kick, terrific mark from Eloise Ashley Cooper. They were coming from all parts of the compass. And she just sat underneath it, took the mark. Now she's taking some ground, giving it to Hartog, who's lost the headband in amongst all of that. Inside 50, Elnikas. Out the back door was McKenzie, just threw the ball on the ground. Robinson to Molan. There's been a whistle, and it's got to come back. Sophie Molan was off to the races.
Chloe Adams up to 10 touches already, 5 tackles, 2 clearances. So she's a pretty exciting addition to this Essendon side.
Done some nice things early on. Tia Davidge, McCullough stole the footy. Melnikas goes back in after it. Again, McCullough has a crack, so does Borg. Here's Reed, getting boot to ball. Inside 50, Harley. Fisted away by Adams. He's undersized in the contest, but she's not giving up the fight. Terrific stuff to bring Harley to ground. McKenzie has a crack for Port Melbourne. Boundary line might end up beating all comers. And over the line it goes.
How well did Adams play that there? As you said, undersized against Harley, who's a powerful forward. Impacted it enough that Harley didn't take the mark, and then when Harley took possession was able to bring her down. So that quick transition between combating the air and then impacting on the ground was really important.
She's got it again there from Chaston. So the two of them waxing lyrical in the Bombers' defence, racking up the numbers. McCullough went for Caruso, who might be met head on. Wrapped up in a strong tackle from Olivia Manfreight, and the umpire will ask for the ball again. This contest we've got on our hands here at the Hangar at the moment, Jem, between the last two premiers of the Rebel VFLW seasons.
Yeah, and there's a good crowd set up on that outer side here at the Hangar. Just here for an enjoyable Saturday morning, afternoon.
Double header.
Imagine a lot of them will stick around for the men's game later on in the day.
Against the Brisbane Lions, and Jem will reacquaint herself with Ben Hudson, who was a wonderful guest on State of Play at the season launch, and people can catch up on that one on Spotify. Great to hear from Hutto, and great to have him bring a cooler weather to Melbourne this weekend as opposed to when he was down last time for the 3-day heat wave we experienced.
Yeah, he wasn't pleased about that, was he?
No, he eyeballed you, and I dare say he'll be doing so again today, later on.
My fault.
It was Brisbane's first outing since the preliminary final of last year. And we get to see Tom Doedee.
We do.
For the first time in Brisbane colours. Here's Melnikas. Shoveled the handball towards Lily Rose, who sends it to half forward. It's a wonderful, well-weighted kick in the end, and Scarlett Orritt has the mark. It's not a vacant 50, but there's room to lead into. Brilliant body work. Here's Ava Jordan. She'll give the 1-2. They'll run into an open goal with Olivia Manfrey along the ground. Oh, Hartog on the goal line, playing the goalkeeper role. And that sort of goal umpiring is what we need at the AFL level. There was no doubt about it. He was sure in his decision. We're not reviewing that. Terrific stuff.
Ava Jordan just needed to take the shot herself rather than pass that off. The goal square was empty. Just needed to have the confidence to kick that herself because it gave time for Hartog to get back and impact.
The one thing I will say to counter that, and I'm not saying that is incorrect, she's not facing the goals. Olivia Manfrey is running back towards.
Yes,
also
to attack a little bit more.
Up against Caitlin O'Keefe and our rucks, Crystal Russell and Big Baz for Port Melbourne. And Russell, well, she was about to take at the ball and go, but a free kick has been found, and Ruby Marnie is going to have the first disposal of the second half. She'll send the ball to half forward. Terrific from the Borough to get a hand to that one. Here is Adams. Up by Hartog. Had a second go, and it works out well for Karis Brett to send it inside 50. Manfrey busted through a couple of tackles. Got boot to ball. It's fisted towards Hartog. Shoveled it in the direction of her teammate. Oh, smashed into was Lily Rose Williamson. Thrown into the turf, and the umpire's going to penalise her too. That was a strong tackle, Gem, to open proceedings in this second half.
Yeah, and Lily Rose Williamson is not afraid of the hard contact, so for her to be a little bit sore getting up tells you just how hard a hit that was.
Ava Seaton got it to Bianca Line.
Queenslander Ava Seaton.
Down for the season. Will she fly up and down? Do you know?
I genuinely don't know the answer to that question. Had spent some time on Brisbane's AFLW list, didn't make her debut, but has a lot to offer, I think.
Here she is again. 2 bounces right on cue. Sends it to half forward. Cox was at the back. Couldn't reel in the footy. The kick goes along the ground. Direction of Chaston, who was wrapped up, locked up at half forward. The umpire's stopping, propping, crossing the arms and asking for it.
Chaston a bit lucky not to be done for holding the ball there. Dragged it in, sat on top of it, didn't let it out.
Half forward for Port Melbourne. Just had one behind to the right of screen in the opening half. The rest of the scoring's been done to the left here of the Hangar. The first game of the Rebel VFLW season for these two sides. Russell punched into space. Hartog was on hands and knees. O'Keefe shoveled it backwards. Locked up again. Ava Seaton again at the bottom of this pack, along with Ruby Marnie. Russell wins it down. Seaton off to Big Baz. Out to O'Keefe. Slews off the side of the boot ever so slightly. Ball bounces on its point, came back to her. Brilliant handball's been picked off by Sophie Molan, who takes the ground in front of her. Went for Marnie. Didn't take the mark. Broke the Hartog tackle. And the Bombers are waxing lyrical. On the broadcast side of the ground, Olivia Manfrey picks it up. Goes back to Karis Brett, who'll send it inside 50. It's a 2-on-1. Easy pickings in the end for the captain of the Borough today, Lisa Davey.
This is the thing, we talked in that first term about how much space the Bombers were creating in that forward half to try and get the ball out over the back, but they have to acknowledge whether they do have the player to get the ball if they do kick it into that space, and sometimes they just don't, and that bombing it long is just feeding into Port Melbourne's hands. Here
is Cox going inside 50. It's a well-weighted ball, so they take it the length of the ground with Maddie Patterson, and it all started on the halfback flank, and they got it out to Stutt, who took a couple of bounces on the far side of the ground. We haven't seen a lot of footy played out there, Jem, but using the width of the Hangar to their full advantage.
And that's the example of the exact opposite of what I was saying about Essendon, finding the target inside 50 even if there's space.
So here's Maddie Patterson, early going of the third term. Couple of steps into goal. Direct approach. This will hurt. It'll hurt a lot because they've now kicked 3 in a row, and that 7-point margin has been extended out to 13. And Maddie Patterson has her first goal of the season. It might have been her first goal in Port Melbourne colours.
I think it is, given everyone getting around her and the fact that I've got it written down that she's never kicked a goal in the
there you go.
VFLW before, for Port Melbourne before, because this is her first game for the Borough. But You're exactly right. That ability to use the open side, transition quickly, but have the composure to not just kick long forward, seeing a paddock of space and just kicking forward, actually seeing that there's a target there. And it was a beautifully weighted kick from Caitlin Cox to get into Patterson there. It's the opposite of what Essendon was able to do. Essendon kicked to the outnumber in the hope that the space would work to their advantage, and it just didn't.
And immediately, though, as soon as they took the intercept mark, Port Melbourne, on the halfback flank, they just spread and went looking to the other side of the ground rather than playing this side. I think they tried to do in the first quarter, and they were picked off a couple of times trying to get back into the corridor, but it was something Sean Buckle talked to us about earlier on at the season launch, and we've spoken to a couple of other people in the lead up to this game, that they want to play some attacking footy. They want to get it to the outside and use some of that pace and burn, because they feel like a lot of the competition at this particular level wants to play safe down the line footy.
Yeah, and it's something we saw from them last year as well. I know Eliza Morrison, who's not out there today, I don't even think she's at Port Melbourne anymore, but she was a big proponent of that switch out of defence and would set a lot up that way. And Lauren Caruso was fantastic at it as well. As here they go again.
Yeah, it's Jessie Williams getting it to Patterson, the latest goal kicker. There's a ton of space. It's Harley in a one-on-one in the goal square, but Patterson's going to wait for some of the cavalry to arrive inside the forward 50 arc. She'll go in the Harley direction now, who moves for it. Big contest. Adams on ground level, got it to Russell. Brilliant smother by Stella Reid. Came back to Seaton, who's been locked up.
Generating that stoppage there now is exactly what Port Melbourne would have wanted after a Harley mark.
So Russell wins it down, though just tapped it more to space. It went over the head of Adams, pushed into the turf. Here was Ruby Murdoch. We'll have a secondary stoppage. You feel like Port Melbourne are up the gears since the first quarter into the second term, and now they're almost right on top of this contest. Momentum on their side. Adams is going to wheel the Bombers forward with a handball towards Davidge, who sends it outside her defensive 50 arc. Inside the centre square, but it might come back. Here's Caruso. Swings it to Nayli Borg, who'll go to half forward. Cox was pushed aside. They've got the numbers here, Essendon. The handball wasn't a great one on that occasion from Ashley Van Loon, who's now been wrapped up by Wilcox, thrown into the turf, and the umpire will ask for it again.
Port Melbourne's ability to be clean with their hands has really stood out as well. They're trying to use that controlled possession footy, kick mark, first gather off the deck, whereas Essendon have been a bit fumbly, and I think that's represented in the stats as well. The Borough have had 33 marks to Essendon's 12.
It's a feature, isn't it?
That ability to control the footy has allowed them to use clean skills, whereas Essendon have dropped marks, have had to have a second grab at the footy below their knees, and that's really allowed the Borough to come in and apply that pressure. The Borough have applied 51 tackles to Essendon's 40 in this game. So it's hard to apply a tackle when it's uncontested possession down the field, isn't it, Joey?
Most certainly is. And there's just some of the numbers you can access on afl.com.au right throughout the year. Brought to you by Gemma Bastiani, who's a big part of the State of Play podcast. That's the sort of insight you'll get every single week. The one thing I noticed on this occasion, Gem, the play that we're watching unfold right now with Adams, Port Melbourne have been able to almost slow them up from this point. In the first quarter, they were able to get out here, Essendon, and kick it into vacant land, as Mel Neekus is going to have a crack at doing so right now. We'll see if she can pinpoint a target down there. It goes over the head of Ford. Manfrey's down there, but as is McCullough. She's got Caruso if she wants. Chooses to handball back inboard, and they switch across the face of goal, but to that open side of the ground again here, Gem. It's almost becoming a feature to get it to space, and Molan's got to go to work. She's got 2 to beat. And Port Melbourne worked this out okay. No, Sophie did brilliantly.
It was fantastic by Molan. She was outnumbered. She acknowledged that Port Melbourne do want to use that switch and get it to that outside. So she was automatically on her bike as soon as the ball was won by the Borough coming out of defence. So it's not always going to work out that way. You're not always going to win that 2-on-1, but in that occasion, Molan was able to have a big impact.
Tried to pick out Manfrey on the lead. Maybe he'll have a second go at it. Reed's worked a long way down to get that Sharon. And there's been a whistle. Late one, but a free kick to Borg. Molan a touch overzealous on the outer side of the ground. Now we'll see if they want to keep it out that side of the hangar or maybe bring it back into the corridor. Borg opts to go down the line. Chaston will come across, but the mark's been taken by Maddie Patterson, and amazing what a goal will do, Gem. She's got her confidence up There's Patterson.
But this is the tones or areas of the game that Port Melbourne is very, very good at. They haven't been able to find that quick running transition that they've found a few times. So they just go into that kick mark, possession football game. They've gained plenty of ground. And now they're trying to cut back in to open up the angles to go back inside 50.
Oh, Caruso nearly ran herself into trouble. Managed to work it out to get to centre half forward. Trying to bust her way through was Van Loon. Ball hits the deck. Karis Brett managed to pick it up for Essendon and clean up the mess. Skidded past Manfrey. And Port Melbourne can work this out. It's with Caruso. Best player in the 2023 season for the Borough. Best on ground in the grand final. Essendon on half back. Time, space and numbers. It's with the captain, Chaston. I thought that kick might have gone far enough, but not according to the umpire. Chaston wrapped up by Caitlin Cox.
Chaston having a bit of a laugh with the umpire because they thought it had gone far enough as well.
So on the pain of 50, Patterson goes towards the goal square. A quick break and she might have her second. Although it's won here by the Dons. Outside of the ground, Orrit to space. McCullough, will it sit for her? Well, she didn't let it go past her. Otherwise, they're off to the races here, Essendon. Brilliant stuff. Through the centre of the ground is Ashley Cooper. To half forward for Frew, who takes it on the chest. Vacant land. She go to the outer side of the ground again. It's a brilliant, well-weighted kick for Reid. And here's Patterson. Open goal square. She can run in and kick her second, and she slams it home. 2 in a row for Pato. 4 for the Borough. And they're extending this lead and making it very tough for the Dons as we near the halfway point of this third quarter.
How smart was the organisation of the Borough there? Win the footy and then just able to pick out those targets. So once Fetty Frew taking that mark, 70 out from goal, offered them the chance to set up their forward 50. Stella Reid had done a fantastic job of sliding into attack without an opponent. She'd lost her opponent and come in. Fetty Frew had to make the decision quickly because if she'd waited any longer, someone would have gone and covered Reid, hit her with the kick, so a neat execution of skill. And then Reid was very aware that as soon as she got the ball, she was going to draw the defender up to her, which would leave Patterson open, hit her up very quickly. And it's just that awareness of where each other is and the execution of skill to actually use them in the way they need to be used.
Yeah, the team synergy up and about in this third quarter for Port Melbourne. They're right on top here of the Bombers, who've got some questions being asked of them early on in this contest. Karis Brett thrown into the turf, and the umpire will ask for the ball back. It's the key playmakers too of Port Melbourne getting on top during this quarter. They might get another chance at it. Woolcock, Ashley Cooper shoveled the handball inside 50. Molan wrapped up by Reid. It's a few of the same names, isn't it, Jem? That just touch on the Sharon, bit of confidence, couple of goals now. At quarter time they hadn't scored. They've kicked the 4 goals of this game all in a row. Essendon really haven't had an answer for them, to be honest.
No, and I think we talk a lot about, getting your touch, and round one can be messy because you're getting used to the level again and things like that. And all it took for Port Melbourne was a quarter to settle into the game and start to find that connection with one another. And now we're seeing a reigning premiers coming out and showing exactly what they're made of. And the player who I've been really impressed with, we talked a lot about Izzy Hartog's spoil to prevent that goal at halftime. But the way they position themselves and are very disciplined in keeping their distance from the contest so they can be an outlet. And as you can see now in that shot, is them directing their teammates and being a leader on the field. And I think Izzy Hartog, on the stat sheet, it never really looks like they've done a lot, but they are so important to the structure of the team, not only with...
Sorry, Jem. Stella Reid was just having a ping at the sticks. She went from long range, just fell short of the goals, and Molan trying to clear it. As far as Hartog, it bounced past and into the waiting hands of Karis Brett. So Essendon on the bounce. Can they get something going out of sight of the ground? Caruso is lurking. She'll paddle it towards the boundary line and reel it back in, then come corridor side. Ava Jordan has to sit underneath it and wait. Courageous. She gives the handball off to Davidge, who's got to break the tackle of Seaton. Back towards Jordan. There's a bit of intensity about this contest now. Inside 50. Davey didn't take the mark.
It's
Port Melbourne
just
have got
all
numbers.
Port Melbourne. That's the thing. That's why Davidge couldn't take the kick when she first got the footy, was because it was just all Port Melbourne. They set themselves up beautifully in defence, and they just had the outnumber, and there was no point kicking it long, and then got caught because of the pressure higher up the field.
So it's on the 50 for the Bombers. Karis Brett, did she pick out her teammate? The umpire said she didn't hold on to it long enough there, did Marnie Robinson. Although she has earned a free kick for a push in the back. Now there's a chance here, Jem, for them to stop this run of 4 straight goals and get one themselves.
This one will be kicking with the benefit of the wind a little bit. Still need to navigate it neatly. And it's, 40 metres out from goal where she'll be kicking it, so no.
To the top of the square, it's starting to fade at a minor score. So another behind for Essendon.
Just got under it a little bit there, so wasn't able to really use the benefit of the position, the wind, all that sort of stuff. But how quick is Port Melbourne to reset and get the ball back out and take a mark in a 1 or 2?
It's O'Keefe getting it from Caruso. Van Loon couldn't take it. Patterson's had some sort of quarter in her first game for Port Melbourne. Couple of goals. She's had every one of her teammates charge over to her in celebration. Thrown up. Whistle. Free kick for Big Baz. Holding her own in the ruck is Barry. I'm not actually sure why they go with Barry.
That's Patterson there. But, yeah, Molly Dennehy-Maloney is...
There's Patterson right there on cue. Missed the ball, though. Karis Brett. Jordan. Van Loon. This is where they're starting to break down, Jem. This is where they get a bit of the footy, and Port Melbourne have structured up really nicely across the half-back flank.
Yeah, sorry for calling you out there, Joey. Yeah, I don't know why they call her Barry. Maybe that's a question you need to ask after the game.
Maybe we go down and speak to Baz. If Port Melbourne can hold on from here. The kick is not a great one, so here's a chance for Essendon. What do they have to do here, Jem? What do they have to make a structural change?
They're wanting to find space in attack, and Port Melbourne's not allowing that to happen anymore. So they need to start finding those short kicks like this one. But they also need to execute the skill. They need to take the mark with the first grab. They need to hit the target by foot, which they haven't really done a lot of in the last 2 quarters.
I think Al Chaston is thinking that maybe it came off the boot of one of the Port Melbourne players. So both boundary and field umpire are going to confer here. You imagine if it's in doubt, we're throwing this in, aren't we?
Yes, as we...
Oh, there's an agreement, so maybe just a kick off the ground. So here's an opportunity for them, Jem.
But again, there's 3 Borough players all throughout that 50-metre arc. So where are all the Bombers?
Well, Manfrey nearly got it. Jordan at the front of the contest, where a good small forward should be, but wrapped up, locked up. And we'll have a stoppage about 35 out from goal. Grabbed out of the ruck by Jada. Awkward bounce. And we'll have this one thrown in again. Jada Richardson, that is, currently doing the ruck work from the Echuca Bombers. Is now doing the ruck work against Big Baz.
There'll be no nickname that tickles you more this year, will there, Joey?
No, but there is a better name than that, I reckon, in the VFL, Smithy's VFL. Shadow Brain, who we're going to call a bit later on. Cracking name, Shadow Brain. But Big Baz is right up there from a nickname point of view.
I love a nickname where you can't tell where it came from.
Well, I got no idea where Big Baz came from for Molly Dennehy-Maloney. We'll have to find out throughout the week, and people have to tell us at VFL on Twitter what are some of the great nicknames of their teammates. And they've got another chance here. Karis Brett, who's had a bit of the football during this third term. Bounced up for Manfrey, wrapped up in the tackle, just handballed it to space and gave Chaston a crack to run onto it. Molan, it was an uncomfortable bounce for her. And charging back after it is Karis Brett, wrapped up by McKenzie this time. Sporting the blue helmet, strong tackle and locked up. The Port Melbourne defence is holding their own at the moment. And they're holding an 18-point lead over Essendon as we near three-quarter time. Ashley Cooper comes back on the ground, been instrumental in their last couple of goals. Adams has earned herself a free kick. Not quite sure what that one was for, but we'll send the footy inside 50, and blocking the hole beautifully is Lauren Caruso. One who's found a bit of the footy in this third term, Jem.
Bombers need to find some possession footy. Oh, that's a poor kick.
That was from Hartog.
Came off the boot poorly, but
they're getting another chance at it, although bounced off the chest there of Dennehy Maloney and locked up. So the umpire will ask for it again.
But it's almost like it's a bit like Fremantle in the AFLW in the last couple of seasons, where it's like, get it forward however possible. It doesn't need to be neat or tidy. We just want the territory. It's obviously not working for the Bombers right now. So something needs to change, and I think a bit of possession footy would do well.
Three-quarter time in this season opener between Port Melbourne and
the weather allows them to play that style of footy more, so then when they come down here, they look really flashy because they are willing to take the game on, and that's something we've definitely seen from Ava in this game so far, and she'll be a real asset this year. But she is an inside midfielder, so that ability to go from inside the contest to that running outside game is really dangerous, and that's what she's brought today.
Well, she was just wrapped up there by Ruby Marnie, and well, she almost got it there. Big Baz was wrapped up by Chaston in the centre circles. And timely you said just ask any Queenslander. Of course, Brisbane up next against the Bombers. Maybe I'll go up and ask Ben Hudson, the coach of Brisbane, about Queenslanders taking some grass and running. I'm expecting that then from the Lions a bit later on this afternoon. Of course, you can stream that game and all games this year on afl.com.au and the AFL Live official app. You can also listen to State of Play on there, the great podcast that you're a part of, Jem, in 2024, every Tuesday morning at 7:30. Here's Ruby Marnie.
We should clarify that you don't have to listen to it at 7:30.
No, you have to. You have to.
Listen to it whenever.
Set your alarm, and that's when you should be listening. Here's Al Chaston getting a clearance for the Dons and sending them to half forward. It's going to bounce up perfectly into the waiting arms of Van Loon. Had to break the tackle.
Van Loon's been moved into attack as well. It's another move that Shree O'Neill has made.
A brilliant tackle there from Izzy Bacon, wrapping up Lily Rose Williamson and being rewarded.
Williamson was wanting a high free kick there.
And we talked about Izzy Bacon a little bit earlier on. So pick 13 in last year's national draft. The inside-out spiral works out for Big Baz. Missed the handball of Seaton. Marnie, she's going to be wrapped up by Seaton, who had a second goal, winning back the Sharon. Ashley Cooper's there. Gives it to Ava now, who tries to bust through a tackle. Her handball went towards Stella Reid. Just kicked it to half forward. Harley came out to meet it, as did Robinson, who just shoves it inside 50. Brilliant mark, Maggie McKellar. She's been the intercept queen down there for Port Melbourne.
Something about that number 10 Guernsey. Eliza Morrison wore it last year. Maggie McKellar this year. That staunch defensive option. I do like that number 10.
All right, we'll keep a watch on that throughout the season.
Joey, I've got a question for you.
Ask away.
Is there a better Guernsey than the long sleeve Port Melbourne Guernsey?
Well, you know that the team that I follow also has the horizontal stripes.
But they're not as good as these colours.
Oh, I disagree. Black and white looks pretty good in the long sleeve.
Nah.
Well,
I don't think there's a better Guernsey than the long sleeve Port Melbourne.
Okay, well, people can tell us. What do they think at VFL on, well, what's it called now? X, formerly known as Twitter. Here's the Bombers trying to bust away. That's a brilliant tackle.
That's an injury. That's
from Big Baz.
Potential injury.
Big Baz. Fierce at the contest.
She's okay.
It works out for Sophie Molan and Essendon on half back. Adams was met by Ashley Cooper. Ashley Malnikas tried to bust through. She was wrapped up in the tackle from Jessie Williams. You're right, Jem. Coming off the ground is Drew Ryan, who was part of that tackle from Dennehy Maloney.
Yeah, leg just got caught under. She's walking with a limp, but at first it looked like she was done. But now maybe it's just something she needs to walk off.
Off the ground. It might have come off the boot of Frew, and Stella Reid takes it on 50. She goes to the top of the square. It's an uncomfortable one for the Essendon defence. And Madison Ford navigated it okay by getting a boot to it and getting it over the line.
Yeah, we should clarify that lasso rule.
Yes.
In the 50-metre arcs, it is not. It doesn't get enacted. So if it comes off your boot and rolls out of bounds, it's just going to be a throw-in.
Adams tried to break away from Ashley Cooper. I feel like she's had a very good second half, Ashley Cooper, in this game.
Yeah, was listed by Essendon's AFLW side in 2022, was delisted without a game. Now it's gone to Port Melbourne and is having an impact.
Maybe a hint of revenge or redemption this afternoon, or this morning rather, from Ashley Cooper.
It is morning. It feels like an afternoon though.
Most footy does get played in the afternoons. Just very used to it.
We've been here for a while.
We have.
To be fair.
Out of sight of the ground, Karis Brett sits. She might be in business.
But she's got no options ahead. Again, Port Melbourne have absolutely powered back, and they've got 3 extras sitting in that defensive line to intercept the footy.
So she did cut back inboard to Chaston, who's picked out Manfrey. That was
a
a well-weighted kick from the skipper. And inside 50, she got Van Loon working for her, as well as Jada Richardson in the direction of Jada, who's got support of her teammates. In the end, she just paddled through her legs. Well, she did well not to give away a free kick there. Did the Port Melbourne defender. Just trying to work out who that might have been. Almost in the piggyback type role. Bella Clark it was.
But it just, every time Essendon looks up and wins the ball in the middle, they have to chip it around over possess the ball because they don't have free options ahead of the play.
So Orrit managed to get boot to ball. An uncomfortable one in the sky. The wind may have just made it a touch swirly. Van Loon got the handball up. Richardson found her left foot into goal. And just missing. The umpire did hover for a while and watch it, but another behind.
Just trying to get onto that left boot. Took a little bit of time and then it was under pressure.
So as I watch Lauren Caruso bring the footy back in, I'm starting to pick up what Jem Bastiani's putting down about the Borough jumper in the long sleeves. It does look magnificent, the red and blue. Out the back is Reed. A little underground handball was a good one to Cox. Her handball, though, missed. Opened the door for Chloe Adams.
Joey, I want to ask, and it's not something you've made up, but you've just said it there. Underground handball.
Oh, yes.
Did it go underground?
No. No, it didn't. It just rolled along the top of the ground. It's the same when people say lower the eyes. If they lowered their eyes, they'd be looking at their bootlaces rather than kicking it in short. I'm sure I'll get it throughout the year.
Here we go, here we go.
They can run into an open goal with Orrit, who doesn't lower the eye. She just sends it to the top of the goal square, and the mark has been picked off by Izzy Bacon on the last line of defence.
Had a lot more time there, Orrit, to actually either hit up a target or get into closer proximity of the goal. So it's a little bit of panic maybe in that Essendon forward half. They've been good elsewhere on the ground.
Caruso wrapped up by Chaston. The umpire will ask for it again. Half forward flank for Essendon, trailing by 17 points in this final term. Marnie, handball, Robinson managed to get boot to ball. Uncomfortable one for Bacon to navigate. Adams wraps her up. Just inside the 50-metre arc for the Bombers. They've had some chances, albeit mainly in the first quarter, to get some scoreboard pressure, and since then Port Melbourne have added the 4 goals. Busting through the tackle to get through was Woolcock. Bounced beautifully for Harley.
How's the pickup?
And cuts back inboard towards Caruso. Melnikas, a second attempt to provide some pressure. In front of the contest is Cox, dribbles it along the ground. Intercepted by the Bombers. Molan, Melnikas, through the centre square, goes forward. Bounced around Borg in the heart of the centre circles to centre half forward McCullough. Intercept mark again. I dare say, Jem, all of her marks have been intercept type marks. She hasn't really got a lot from her teammates. She certainly marked a few from the Bombers, sending them forward as Borg. Second bite of it will go inside 50. Robinson, tough one for her. Harley Johnson did well not to lose sight of the Sharon. Ford, though, just handballed it to the ground. Harley can go into goal. She's got Cox, who will run in and seal the deal for the Borough. Nice forward craft from Port Melbourne. They've now got 5, and Caitlin Cox has got 2. And I reckon both of them have come from a receive of Harley.
They have, yes. That one was more purposeful than the first one, yes. I would say. But that awareness of where each other is, but also Port Melbourne just works so hard to offer that defensive coverage and then power forward. It reminds me a little bit of GWS in the men's in the AFL to start the season. They all get back and then they run in those waves, and they've always got another option to get the ball to, and that's what Port Melbourne has done so well. And I think something that people assume about a VFLW comp or a second-tier comp, especially a comp that has players that they don't always get options for to use from the senior list, is it's hard to create a brand because you don't have consistency in your players. Something we've definitely got from Port Melbourne is a consistency in their brand, which is work rate and running in waves.
Would you say that's their DNA?
I mean, if you want to be a bit cliche, Joey, you can.
Well, we're talking about cliches that have been used
that's true.
throughout the season.
That's
I'll give
you that.
The other one, of course, people love to use is their one wood. I've never seen a footy club use a set of golf clubs, but a one wood. As they've broken away, Caitlin Cox now has 2 goals for the morning. As does Maddie Patterson. Centre half forward, 23 points the margin. Scooped up towards Karis Brett. Here's Ava Seaton. Well-weighted kick for Reid, who picked it up on the half volley beautifully. Got it to Woolcock. Seaton kept running. She's got enough space and time to gather in the rolling Sharon. Went to half forward towards Frew. Melnikas did well. Kept her eye on it. Went through the contest inside the centre square. Caruso roving that contest. Inside 50 in a one-on-one. Mark not being taken by Williams, but she has another go at it. Pushed her teammate aside and shoots into goal with another one. Jessie Williams. An early birthday present, Jem. 29 on Tuesday, her first goal for the day. And that is the 6-1 for Port Melbourne. They're pulling right away now.
And it comes with that one-touch take, doesn't it? We see Essendon fumble, have to have a second grab at it, have really struggled to maintain that chain of possession because they are being swarmed, obviously defensively, but they're not able to take the ball cleanly. Whereas Port Melbourne, they take it cleanly, they hit their targets. If they don't take the mark, their follow-up at ground level is brilliant. And the composure, settled there, Williams, turned, gained a little bit of ground to make it an easier shot, and had teammates that were saying, go for goal. So the communication between each of them is fantastic, but the skill level of the individual has really stood out, I think.
So we're back into the centre square. A nice little early warning shot to the competition from the reigning premiers. Held scoreless in the first term, and 2 goals in each quarter since.
Joey,
a time left on this clock.
Oh, I don't know. We can't actually see the scoreboard or clock from where we're sitting, but Joey, I think since it's been the VFLW, obviously there's been a few iterations of this competition, I don't think we've ever had back-to-back premiers, have we?
No, well, we had the possible opportunity for Collingwood to do so, but the grand final was cancelled.
Correct, in 2020.
2020.
So this is a chance for Port Melbourne to make a bit of history if they can continue this sort of form this year.
Correct.
Obviously, it is just round 1.
Yes.
But
early signs are promising.
We do like to speculate.
Go hard early, Jem.
But I think what we talked about off the top was which teams are going to be really strong at the start because they've got access to all those AFLW players, and then kind of fall away a little bit like Geelong did, like Casey did last year.
And the Southern Saints.
But I think what we see from Port Melbourne, yes, they do have some AFLW players out there. Izzy Bacon's been great. Caitlin Cox has obviously kicked a couple of goals. But they're not heavily reliant on those players for their game style and how they're going to play. A lot of their stars have been VFLW listed players who we're probably going to see consistently throughout the year.
So the Bombers will send it back forward. But since half-time, it's been all Port Melbourne in defence as Big Baz Sends it from centre-half back to centre-half forward. Cox, who's kicked a couple of goals, goes inside 50. Jessie Williams has a chance to double her count on the score sheet, and that's what she does. Sublime from Jessie. Brilliant from Port Melbourne. Stamping their authority right at the end of this contest.
Goal umpire didn't even have to move there.
Not when you've got the skills of Jessie Williams. Why would you move?
2 in a row. Well, her eyes must be lighting up now, just sitting there on her own. No one's gone to her. She's just kicked the previous goal and then still finds it on her own at the top of the 50 again. And we go back to that discussion around getting those deep entries. It's what Essendon were trying to do in the first quarter. Couldn't get the deep entries, and the 50 was too crowded to, run in, use a little bit of space. But whereas Port Melbourne, they're finding that space because a lot of the Essendon defenders are trying to come up to the play, and Port Melbourne's just taking advantage of it once they get it over the back. It's 7 goals straight. They have not missed, Joey.
That's right. They haven't looked like missing either. They have not looked like missing, Port Melbourne, since quarter time. Just
an update on the other game as well. Geelong is 3-3-21 to Carlton's 3-3-21.
Oh, shootout.
The goal kickers there. Poppy Sharp has kicked 2. Georgia Tate, Sophia McCarthy, Hannah Birchall have each kicked the other goals.
So this is Lauren Caruso. It gets it on to Ballastat. Sends it down the line towards Stella Reid, who will receive and kick it inside 50. Beautiful bounce for Harley. Off to Frew. Into goal. There's one that's going to miss. In fact, it's going to miss everything and hit the behind post. So
still unblemished. 7 goals straight.
Correct. So they've got another chance to kick number 8. Gee, they're good to watch, aren't they, when they get some space, Port Melbourne. Their skills have been almost sublime in this first game, where you think there might be a little bit of rust, given we haven't played footy for the best part of 5-6 months. Even longer, in fact, for the VFLW, given this season did finish in July of last year. So, long time, but the synergy and the energy of the Borough has been great to watch.
It's just that one-touch gather off the deck, isn't it, that makes such a difference.
Jessie Williams again gets boot to ball, and the mark's been taken. At the top of the goal square, Caitlin O'Keefe has a chance to add her name to the score sheet now.
And this is just the gimme spot, isn't it? We talk about the hot spot being the top of the goal square, but here, 30 metres out, she's taken that mark. I think the umpire's put her on a bit more of an angle than was absolutely necessary, but, you'd expect her to kick this, just to put her under pressure.
So directly in front of goal, Caitlin O'Keefe puts it on its way and works it back perfectly. Double fist and then a little bit of Frank the Tanks type action. That's her first. They've got 8. 4 goals in this final quarter, 2 of them to Jessie Williams, and now a goal assist to go alongside that.
Yeah, and just going back to the point I was making a little bit earlier, Joey, these are all players who are going to be there all year. They're not players that are, once the AFLW season starts, they're going to be pulled from the side to protect them and get into their other pre-season. These are players who are going to play right to the very end of the season. So that's what makes Port Melbourne so dangerous.
And they've still got to welcome in for the first time Jordan Mifsud and welcome back Beth Wilson.
Yeah.
Good luck getting into this team, ladies. Have to put in some big Tuesday nights on the track. They're going forward again here, the Borough. It just wobbles to the forward 50. Reid. Adams was met by Woolcock. Shoveled out towards Marnie. Orrit. Everything seems to be under pressure for the Bombers. O'Keefe for Port Melbourne. To centre-half forward. Williams again. She's been the danger woman inside 50, and there it is again on show. To Harley, who was standing in front.
Joey, how was the spin there? Spin out of danger. Didn't even get touched, Williams.
Someone might have told Jessie Williams you were giving 3-2-1 at three-quarter time, and she said, I want a piece of that. 2 goals and almost 2 goal assists if this goes through in the final 20 minutes of the game, Jem.
Unreal, and Harley's just been presenting all day.
So Emily Harley from the same spot as Caitlin O'Keefe for her second. No problems for Emily Harley. No problems for Port Melbourne. It's been shooting practice in this last term for the Borough. They've had 4 players kick 2 goals. They've kicked 9 in total. and left the Bombers in their wake with just 7 behinds.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one if you're a Bombers fan, because they did have advantage at the start. They couldn't make the most of it. Their forward connection still finding their feet in terms of chemistry with one another. But it's something that's going to happen when you have such a significant change in your list as well. The Bombers have had a lot of change in personnel over the off-season. In a 14-round season, there's room to make some errors and to come back from it. So you'd think with the experience that's now at the Bombers, they'll improve as the season goes on.
Secondary stoppage in the centre circles. We are almost out of time. 9 straight. Port Melbourne, 7 behinds. The Bombers. The clearance goes the way of Essendon. It'll roll towards Olivia Manfred, half forward. Gets it to Ava Jordan.
Oh.
Another one to Warwick, who just thumped it inside 50. But a comfortable intercept mark taken from Bella Clark, who will pick out Hartog on the outer side of the ground. They'll stop and prop.
Joey, I think what has been really evident in the way today's played out as well is Port Melbourne's ability to adapt to the situation at hand and make changes during the game, and Essendon's inability to make those changes. Essendon's still trying to kick that ball inside 50 to an outnumber, not acknowledging that Port Melbourne is getting those players back again.
This might hurt the Borough on the rebound, although Bella Clark has some time and some composure. And it won't matter. A very short siren to signal the end of that game. And Port Melbourne have claimed the first win of their season comfortably over the Bombers. 9 straight, 54. A 5-goal final quarter to 7 behinds. A comfortable